thank you everyone for joining us at Ollie Shorts again this February. I just want to say that I think Chrissy is the only person that has been with us for all 3 years of
Oh,
Ollie Shorts. Yes, and she helped us especially during the pandemic. And Chrissy's a great friend to all. So I'm so glad to have you back. And let's talk about hands-only CPR. Chrissy, well, I'll let you have the floor.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Thea. And thank you for continuing to ask me to come back. Clearly, I haven't screwed it up yet. So that's good news. This February, in celebration of Heart Month and the American Heart Association's 100th birthday, we are urging every family in the United States to join the Nation of Lifesavers by learning hands-only CPR. There are more than 350,000 people every year who experience cardiac arrests outside of a hospital, including 23,000 children. And so CPR is a critical skill that kids as young as 9 years old can learn. So the question is, after today, will you be ready to save the life of someone that you love?
It's American Heart Month. As the National Ambassador for Nation of Lifesavers, I'm joining the American Heart Association on its 100th birthday to encourage you to learn CPR, because together we can save lives. Nearly 3 out of 4 cardiac arrests that don't happen in hospitals happen in homes. If the time comes, be ready. Join me to ensure everyone has the chance to live longer, healthier lives. Visit heart.org/nation.
We didn't know you were going to have a celebrity join you today. So as those of you may recognize, that was Damar Hamlin, and he has become a national ambassador for CPR for the American Heart Association because he suffered a sudden cardiac arrest on the football field. And it was through resuscitation efforts by the athletic training staff, who just immediately knew what to do and jumped in, that he was able to survive and thrive afterwards. So really, let's kind of just dive in kind of the nitty gritty on what actually is CPR. So CPR is for when the heart stops beating. What we're trying to do when the heart stops beating through CPR is basically trying to keep oxygenated blood running to the brain. A lot of times people think about CPR as being for the heart, but it's actually for the brain. There's a big difference between a heart attack and cardiac arrest. And how I like to think about this is that your body is like a house. You have an electrical system and you have a plumbing system. Heart attacks are when your plumbing system gets a little wonky. So we're looking at, this is when flow to the heart is blocked. So again, those arteries or blood vessels are blocked. There's some symptoms here, pain, discomfort in the chest, back, neck, jaw, stomach, shortness of breath, cold sweats, nausea, vomiting. Symptoms can come and go. So you may experience heart attack symptoms over a number of days or weeks. But the big thing to know with a heart attack is that every minute matters. Time is muscle. So if you are experiencing those symptoms, call 911. Wait for help to arrive. Do not drive yourself to the hospital, please. And don't have someone else drive you either, because if something were to happen, if for some reason your heart attack becomes a cardiac arrest, we need you to be in the back of an ambulance so someone can take care of you. So cardiac arrest is the electrical system. So this is when the heart malfunctions and stops beating. So that could be caused by a heart attack, could be caused by a plumbing problem, but it could also be caused by a number of other kinds of things too. So you may see someone collapse, become unresponsive, they're not breathing, or maybe they're only gasping a little bit. And the important thing to know with cardiac arrest is that if your heart is not beating, death can occur within minutes if that person does not receive treatment. So the important thing is to call 911 and step in with CPR until help arrives. So let's talk a minute about that time factor. So 90%, and this is just a horrifying statistic, but 90% of the people who experience an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest will die. And the reason for that is varied, but a big piece of the puzzle is that they aren't receiving CPR or aren't receiving life-saving interventions in time. The national bystander CPR rate is less than 40%. 70% of cardiac arrests happen at home. So the odds are, if you ever experience something like this, it's going to be a friend, family member, or loved one. And the takeaway here is that minutes count. Immediate CPR is crucial to survival. Providing that immediate CPR can double or even triple someone's chances of survival. And that's why it's so important to step in. So just a couple quick things on, CPR certification. So if you want to become certified or want to become a card-carrying CPR provider, you can go through the full certification class. You will learn how to do compressions and breaths and some minor some minor first aid. There are also advanced CPR certifications such as BLS, basic life support, ACLS, etc. So these are advanced certifications that healthcare professionals may need. But anyone can learn how to perform hands-only CPR, and anyone can teach other people how to learn the skill. One of the big things, one of the big questions that we get asked is, or one of the big reasons that people say that they're hesitant to give CPR is that they're afraid of hurting the person. And there's a couple important things to know about that. Is that number one, if you are acting in good faith and you are genuinely trying to help someone, Good Samaritan laws that are available in most states will protect you during an emergency. If you are genuinely trying to help, you will not be penalized for that. The other thing to know is that you're absolutely going to hurt that person. You absolutely are going to maybe break some ribs. They're going to experience pain. But here's the thing. That person is dead without your help. And I have never in my entire career met someone who is a survivor of cardiac arrest, who received CPR and had their life saved, who said, it was great to have my life saved, but I really wouldn't have liked those cracked ribs. Don't be afraid to step in. Please don't be afraid to help someone. So let's talk about hands-only CPR. What are the steps for hands-only CPR? First and foremost, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to walk through the steps, and then I've got a dummy and I have an AED trainer here that we can walk through too. So here are the steps. Step one, you're going to tap the victim and shout, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Some of you might remember this, the Annie, are you okay? Step two, you're going to point to someone and tell them to call 911. And the reason why we say, instead of just yelling, "Call 911," assigning someone that task makes sure that it gets done. They know that you're talking to them. So I'm going to say, "Thea, call 911 and go get the AED." Okay. We're going to assign those tasks to people so that they know that they are the person responsible. And then you are going to start CPR. You're going to push hard and fast in the center of the chest. And someone asked earlier on, what is the rate to do that? Is it still staying alive? And yes, sing the song Staying Alive. And hopefully everyone here is mature enough to remember that song. But for those of you who have grandkids or kids, Baby Shark is another one that we use when we're teaching to younger kids. I have a few very macabre CPR friends who also like to use Another One Bites the Dust, but I don't like to use that one because, let's keep it positive. So, are you okay? Call 911, go get the AED, and then we're going to start chest compressions. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint screen here now, and I'm going to go off camera for a minute so I don't make y'all dizzy when I move. But as I am going off camera here, I'm going to move down to the floor so that And hopefully I'm still here. Yes. Okay, good. I'm going to move down here to the floor. And then I will be right back on camera. Okay, so now we're back. And I have got my CPR dummy here. This is my Annie. She is sitting right here on the floor in front of me, and I'm going to adjust my camera just a little bit so maybe you can see her. And so again, Annie is here on the floor, and with the background, maybe it's hard to see her. Annie is here on the floor, and I'm going to say, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? And then I'm going to say, Thea, call 911. Mary, go get the AED. And I'm going to put my hands on the chest here. On the Annie, you maybe can't see, there's a little thing that looks like the sternum or the breastbone. I'm going to put the heel of my hand, this part right here, the hard part. I'm going to put that right over the breastbone. And then I'm going to put my other hand on top, and I'm going to use the full weight of my body. I'm going to keep my elbows straight, and I'm going to push from my shoulders. I'm going to push down, and I'm just going to do that. And I'm just going to keep going, okay? Now, Mary has brought me the AED, so I've got that here. Thank you very much, Mary, for bringing that over. And on the AED, you can see I've got the pads here. The pads tell you exactly where to put them on the person's body. And my Annie is obviously not a full person, so it's a little hard to stick them to her, but I would put those pads right here on her. And hopefully you can hear this.
Do not touch the patient. Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient. Analyzing heart rhythm. Shock advised. Charging. Stay clear of patient. Deliver shock now.
So
Press the orange button. Shock delivered. It is safe to touch the patient. Begin CPR.
Okay, so that's the basic steps. So again, step one, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Thea, call 911. Mary, go get the AED. And then I'm going to start chest compressions. How long do you do chest compressions? Until help arrives or until someone else swaps in for you. Okay? I am going to, again, turn off my camera, get up off the floor, and then we will have a little bit of time if anybody has any questions.
Well, while she's getting up off the floor, I thought you're supposed to remove metal like bra hooks or something before you do that shock. Is that not right?
All right, yes, I am back. Okay, great question. That is a really good question. And thank you so much for asking that. Because this is also a reason why people sometimes say that they are hesitant to give CPR. You do have to take off all clothing in order for that AED. So we are affixing the pads directly to the bare chest. And for those of us who have a very hairy chest, a lot of times AEDs will have a razor or a shaver in there. And so it's advised to, use that to shave the person's chest. What I like to do, or what I have been advised to do, if the AED has a second set of pads, sometimes there's more than one set of the pads, they're very sticky. And once you adhere that to the person's skin and rip it off, you're going to pull all of their hair off with it. So use a second set of pads to rip their hair off, or, very quickly shave their chest, get that AED on there securely. But yes, you do have to remove clothing, including if they do have a bra on, you need to remove that. And that's one of the big hesitance that people have, is that, they feel uncomfortable with that. And And I certainly understand that. But I can also tell you that if I am in cardiac arrest, feel free, please. I'm okay with it. I'm seeing a question from Stacy in the chat as well that says, how do you do that if the person is larger than you? And I'm assuming you mean if the person is like, you have to get them onto the floor. Is that what you mean by that? Oh, gotcha. Well, you don't have to like pull them off completely. You just open them up. And a lot of times AEDs will have a scissors in there so you can cut the shirt open, and just make sure that it's the big thing is you need to be able to stick those pads to bare skin. You can't put it on, you know, the person's shirt or whatever. It has to be on their bare skin.
What actually happens if there's metal in contact with their skin when this occurs? Do you burn them or something?
It just is, and I am not 100% sure, but it's not like they're wearing metal earrings, that's not going to be an issue, because the pads where you're putting them, you're putting one like here, and then the other one goes down here on the side like this. And so the idea is you've got a current going across, sorry, I'm doing that the wrong way, across the person's chest, right? So it's an electrical current between here and here that's intended to restart the heart, okay? So that electrical current is very much directed across this area. And that's why we just, in the torso, anything around the heart there, we just wanna make sure that we're getting that there.
Chrissy, when the AED works, is it like on TV? Do they take a big gasp of air, or what is it really like? And after I'm done, Kathy has a question.
Yeah, it depends, I think, you know, and I think that's where every person is different. Hopefully, we only have to shock them one time and their heart rhythm comes back and everything's wonderful. But there's a lot of times where they may have to receive 2 or 3 or even more shocks from an AED. And so that's why it's also so important to call 911, because we want to have EMS personnel en route and arriving as soon as possible, because they can take it from there. So each person is different. I actually was just visiting with a survivor the other day who was revived by CPR. He was on a run and happened to have some passersby who found him and administered CPR, and it actually restarted his heart. That's the first time I have ever heard of that happening. And so, you know, everyone's different. I think Kathy, you had your hand up next.
Yes. Is the only thing you do is ask the person if they're okay? I mean, you don't check whether their heart is beating or not?
Well, you tap them and shake them and ask them. And the reason why traditionally we don't, in hands-only CPR, that we are not telling people to check for a pulse is because, first of all, the adrenaline flowing through your body at that point in time, you're oftentimes going to mistake your pulse for theirs because you're so amped up. Secondly, it's really hard to make sure that you teach someone an effective way to get a pulse. Not everybody is a medical professional and not everyone is super trained. And so our direction is, in a situation of hands-only CPR, if someone has collapsed, they are non-responsive and they are not breathing, you can usually see the chest rising and falling. Or if they're gasping for air, because sometimes in a cardiac arrest, they'll do that raspy, gaspy thing. Start compressions right away. And the thing of it is that even if they aren't in cardiac arrest, even if their heart, they have a very faint pulse, the CPR is not going to harm them. It's not going to hurt them.
I took a class on Stop the Bleed. So if you've got both of those situations, which do you do first?
I would definitely have a partner, but I don't know the answer to that. And I'm hesitant to give an answer because I'm not a medical professional. My default is that you absolutely need to make sure that we're making that oxygenated blood flow to the brain. because if they are brain dead, then that is a huge problem. Mary, did you have a question?
I did. So you've used the AED once and you've started compressions again. But then you mentioned that sometimes a person needs additional shocks hurt. How do you know how to do that or when to do that? Or, do I just like pump 3 times on their chest and then shock them again? Or
so the AED actually
when and
will
how
walk
do you do that?
Yeah, the AED will actually walk you through that.
Walks you through it?
And I didn't go far enough in the cycle for my trainer to demonstrate that. But your AED, you're going to leave those pads attached while you're doing the compressions.
Okay.
And then the AED is going to cycle through again and say, checking for pulse, step away from the patient, and it'll walk you through it. It's an automated system. And let's say it shocks it and it doesn't receive a rhythm back. It tells you to, like it said, continue CPR. Then it's going to check again. And maybe the second time it detects a rhythm, it's going to give you instructions for what to do next. Okay. But you're going to keep that AED attached to it, because then if the person goes back into cardiac arrest, the AED will help you detect that and detect when you need to start CPR again. The thing about AEDs is that they seem like they're very scary devices, but they are so user-friendly to use. The instructions on them are very clear, and even, let me grab this so you can see. There's there. Okay, that's better. There's 2 buttons on here. There's the button to turn it on, and then the button to deliver the shot. Very easy to use, and it walks you through it.
I didn't realize that it would continue to monitor the situation and give instructions. That's great, because you're right. The adrenaline would be flowing through your system, and to estimate time is a difficult thing to do when that's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And just so you know, my mother had a very, very minor car accident, but she was 80 years old or thereabouts, and her heart stopped, and a police officer did compressions on her, and she survived. And that police officer did not break any of her ribs.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing. I know that usually happens. And he must have looked at her and said, this is a little old lady. Her bones are going to be pretty brittle. I better take care to not jump too hard.
Yeah.
But she was sore for a long time after that.
I'm sure she was. Yeah.
So if there's no one else, sorry. If there's no one else around and nobody to call 911 and nobody with an AED, you just start compressions and just keep doing compressions, or?
Well, you need to call 911. I'm getting rid of that background because it was starting to distract me. Sorry. You need to call 911. If you are there by yourself, then
if you don't have a phone, though, you can't do that. So you just start compressions.
Yes, but you absolutely need to get help on the way somehow. So, the thing is, if you need to leave the person for a little bit of time to go to a phone, and come back or whatever that is, but you absolutely need to get EMS en route, because just doing compressions until, you have to get help.
It looks like
Where do
Kathy
you find
Grady.
an AED?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What types of places have AEDs? Where do you look for one?
That's a great question. So a lot of public facilities have AEDs now. Schools, government buildings, etc. A lot of churches now have AEDs. In addition, if you are located in Sioux Falls and in Rapid City, there is an app that you can get on your phone. It's called the Pulse Point app. And I'm going to pull it up here and maybe see if I can. So it looks like, there it is, looks like this. And as one of the menu options, it has on here, you can't probably read this, again, I'm going the wrong way, CPR how to, AED how to. So it walks you through that. But there also, and I can't remember where to find it, there also is on this a map where you can find the AEDs around you. But you can, there's a map where you can, and so if someone has loaded that location into the app, you can find it in the app. But what I do, and this is maybe a hazard of my occupation, is that when I'm walking into a facility, I do take note of where is the AED? Where is that device? And most employees should know where that AED is. And that is something that actually we are working on right now as part of this too, is encouraging businesses, government facilities, buildings, schools, etc., to have a cardiac emergency response plan. So it's just like if you have a school, they have tornado drills and fire drills, right? Everyone in the school knows what to do in those emergencies. You should also have a cardiac emergency response emergency plan so that if something happens, everyone knows where that AED is. We have people on site who are trained in how to give high quality CPR. We have that response ready to go so that if there is an emergency, we have a plan for it, and we practice that plan, right? We do fire drills, we do tornado drills. Let's do cardiac emergency drills too, to ensure that everyone knows exactly what to do should the worst happen.
Does anybody else have any other questions? We do have an AED right outside our classroom door, right outside of 108. And that might be something we could put on our whiteboard where we put other little reminders. We could say AED with an arrow if there's not a sign in there already.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right, great questions, everybody. Thank you. And Chrissy, thank you for joining us 3 years in a row. You get the championship for that. I hope that everyone here has a great day, and I hope none of us, oh, I forgot. One last thing. Chrissy gave us this kit right here. And inside is a practice Annie. So if any of you would like to practice, we do have this in the Ollie office. And there's ways to keep it clean and so you won't get any germs from it. But this blows up and you can do the practice compressions on this wonderful little Annie here. We have that here at the Ollie office, and Chrissy dropped that off for us. Thank you.
And I need a date for Valentine's Day, so I might ask.
You know, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Chrissy. We appreciate you and all your time.
Yeah.
And I hope none of you ever have to use this, but you know how. So take care, everyone. We'll see you later this week. Tomorrow is how to move your dog to assisted living. And Friday is ghost hunting in Deadwood, South Dakota. Should be interesting. And Chrissy did just put her email in the chat if you have any more questions. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.